The courtroom was already a pressure cooker, but everything changed when her name came up. Leaked footage tied her to Diddy's case, forcing Beyoncé to testify, and the room shifted in an instant. What she said next caught everyone off guard. I've been transcribing for 8 years, mostly dull work, sitting in quiet rooms, typing what's said, then going home. I've done depositions, parole hearings, even a 4-day asbestos lawsuit where I fell asleep mid-sentence. No one noticed. It's not glamorous, but I like the stillness. You're invisible, just fingers and ears. This was different. A plain envelope slid under my door the night before, containing a single slip of paper with an unfamiliar courthouse address and a line, "Clearance approved. Room 7B, arrival by 6 a.m., do not disclose." No seal, no contact. I showed it to my neighbor, half thinking it was a prank. She told me to go and dress like it's a funeral. I did. The building wasn't like any courthouse I'd seen, just a long, concrete structure, more like a lab than a legal venue. A man with a clipboard met me at the entrance, scanned my face without a word, and handed me a lanyard. Transcriber 7B active. He waved me past a line of people who weren't lawyers or security, some in lab coats, others with earpieces, staring straight ahead as I passed. The hallway to room 7B was colder than the rest, smelling sterile but wrong, like bleach scrubbed too many times. No windows, just gray walls and a low hum like machinery breathing behind them. I passed 4 doors before reaching 7B, which had no knob, only a red sensor that blinked when I held my badge near it. The door hissed open. Inside was smaller than expected. No jury box, no flags, no judge's bench, just a square room with mirrors on 3 sides and a static camera in the corner. No microphones were visible, but I later learned the walls were acoustically intelligent, whatever that means. A metal table sat near the center with a chair facing away from the door, and a small station to the left had a keyboard, monitor, and locked drawer. A woman in dark blue scrubs handed me a thick file and left, her badge reading Witness Control. She didn't smile, saying only, "You do not interpret. You only record." I sat, heart racing, and opened the file. The top page read, Subject, Beyoncé Knowles Carter. Unclassified cultural defendant, Associated Case 37452 F554, sealed. Defendant, S. Combs, admission, recovered footage, session 9. A grainy black and white photo showed her in the same chair, head tilted like she was listening to something beyond the wall. Her eyes were open but dim, like a light left on in an empty house. The chair was still empty, facing away. I touched the keyboard, wired into the wall with no ports or power button, and the monitor flickered on. Begin. Record when ready. I hesitated, then pressed the key. The lights dimmed, like the room had shifted to performance mode. No announcement, no guards, just her, suddenly in the chair, back to me, shoulders still, hair impossibly smooth, wearing something that shimmered, neither metal nor cloth, black in one light, violet in another. The air changed. My ears popped. I glanced at the mirror and saw my reflection, older, typing something unfamiliar. I blinked, and it was gone. She didn't speak, but every second felt louder. My keystrokes echoed like drums. I cleared my throat, and the walls amplified it. I jumped. She didn't. The monitor shifted, displaying Session Log 7B ties to 37,452 A54 confirmed. Displaying clip. I hadn't pressed anything. Grainy video filled the screen, a small room lit by a red bulb, Diddy cross-legged on the floor, rocking slowly. 4 cloaked figures circled him, one snapping rhythmically. Then she stepped in, barefoot, in black, no makeup. She whispered to Diddy, who stopped rocking. The cloaked figures turned. The feed froze on her face, staring into the lens. The screen glitched, timecode resetting to 0 hours, 0 minutes, 1 seconds, then went black. She turned in the chair, gliding toward me like it was on a track. Her smile wasn't performative, it was knowing, like she'd read everything I'd ever typed. My keyboard lit up, keys glowing one by one. You study life loss. Learning observation. Hate. Anger. Doubt. Guilt. The monitor typed on its own, transcription active. She will begin when you remember your line. I didn't understand, but she kept smiling as the lights dimmed further. I wasn't supposed to testify. My job was extracting metadata from storage devices seized in a raid on Diddy's Alpine, New Jersey property. I'm a forensic video analyst, pulling data from damaged drives, reconstructing files, logging anomalies for lawyers or agents to handle. I don't ask questions, but this time I did, and now I'm in a courtroom that doesn't exist, with mirrored walls and no gallery, recounting something I shouldn't remember. It started with a sleek black SSD, unmarked except for a red dot. When I plugged it in, the indexing software hesitated, then created a folder. Raw Hiller C. Inside were thousands of video files, party footage, rehearsals, decoys. But a timeline recovery tool found an 11-second clip with no name, no timestamp, buried between damaged MP4s. The clip showed a sterile white room, Beyoncé standing in a seamless bodysuit, hair pinned unnaturally. 7 hooded figures circled her, pivoting in sync, mouthing, "Take your mark." On their 7th loop, she looked just left of the camera and said, "Now you have to cast again." The clip ended abruptly. I preserved it before it auto-wiped, reported it, and was removed from the case the next day, reassigned to an insurance fraud job. I made a copy, stored it behind my apartment's fuse box, and played it again. The lights dimmed, and a timecode appeared, recast 001. The next morning, I was summoned to testify in this mirrored room. They asked if I'd altered the clip. I hadn't. They asked if I still had it. I lied. They asked who she meant by, "He broke the cycle." I froze. Her gaze in the clip felt aimed at me, like she'd rehearsed it before I found the file. She hadn't spoken since that first smile, even when the prosecution, 2 men in gray suits, badges with numbers, entered. She stared at the mirrors, ignoring their questions and slideshows of Diddy's materials. The air smelled burnt, like melted film. Then a screen lowered, playing the clip, the rehearsal circle, her mouthing silent words. She leaned forward, fingers on the table, and looked at me. My heart stopped. When the clip froze on her saying, "He broke the cycle," she spoke. It was never off script. You just weren't cast to hear it. Her voice wasn't from her mouth. It filled the air like static. My keyboard sparked, typing on its own. She stood, naming 7 names, including mine, full name, middle included, a name I never use. The court's digital seal glitched, reading, "Memory compliant. Active sequence cycle 2. She said, "Memory is the real contract, and you already signed." My keyboard shorted out, leaving imprints on my fingers that vanished when I blinked. My mind raced with old cases, a missing person's phrase matching her whisper, a child's drawing of a faceless woman circled by figures, a defendant screaming, "Take your mark." She looked at me and whispered, "You remember. That makes you mine." Then she sat, as if the scene had ended. I clean rooms that aren't meant to be seen. Room 7B is different. Only cleared staff enter, signaled by flickering lights and a voice saying, "Room is dormant." Yesterday, under the defendant's chair, I found a cue card, Scene 5, regret. Witness enters, line must repeat. It felt warm like skin. I pocketed it. That night, in the supply closet, I saw a figure pacing, whispering. I didn't know what she would remember. They vanished when I blinked. The card's surface rippled later, like it had been touched too much. Today, the bailiff read, Scene 5, regret, like it was routine. The judge's eyes flickered with recognition. The card wasn't a prop, it was an order. I'm a linguistics consultant, analyzing speech patterns for authenticity. In room 7B, Beyoncé's lip movements didn't match her recorded statements. Slowed and reversed, they formed a melody, unreleased lyrics from a seized drive labeled, Rehears Uncast. She was mouthing a song that didn't exist yet. My monitor froze, displaying, G will loop again if not believed. I tried to submit it, but was dismissed. My device played her voice unplugged. Take your mark. In the exit glass, her reflection moved silently. I noticed the girl in row 3, untracked by the system, sitting still in a gray dress. No one saw her except Beyoncé, who nodded at her. The girl knelt, placing a creased paper on the floor, mouthing silently. She vanished after a light flicker, leaving a blank paper. My transcript typed itself, that's the rhythm child. Her seat was logged as chorus 1 of 7.